There's a moment in every gardener's journey when the soil seems sluggish, the plants stall, and nothing you do gives them the energy you know they're capable of. But throughout history, long before bags of NPK fertilizer appeared on store shelves, people found ways to push crops into rapid growth using nothing more than what they had on hand. Travellers along the Silk Road fed their small oasis gardens with fermented liquids. Japanese farmers protected rice paddies with nutrient brews that would shock a modern agronomist. Even wartime victory gardeners, stripped of commercial fertilizers, relied on homemade ferments to restore exhausted ground and keep families fed. These weren't gimmicks. They were survival tools. And today they've earned a modern name, fermented fertilizer. If you've never used it, you're about to unlock one of the fastest, most reliable plant boosters available to the home grower, a method rooted in centuries of practical fieldcraft. Fermented fertilizer works because it delivers nutrients in a biologically active, plant-ready form. What separates fermented fertilizer from every other homemade input is the speed at which plants respond. The fermenting process breaks down organic materials into simpler compounds that roots can absorb almost immediately. Instead of waiting months for compost to mature, the nutrients unfold in days. You can see real examples of this on small-scale farms across East Asia, where bokashi-style ferments were traditionally used to revive soil between plantings. The idea is simple. You supply a carbohydrate source like molasses or brown sugar, combine it with a plant or nutrient material such as weeds, manure or kitchen scraps, and allow biology to take over. As microbes multiply, they pre-digest the mixture and suspend nutrients in a liquid form plants treat almost like an IV drip. Creating fermented fertilizer starts with choosing the right base material that suits your land and crops. Your choice of ingredients determines the character of your fertilizer. If you want a nitrogen-rich boost for leafy greens, use fresh weeds or green grass clippings. If you need a balanced formula for fruiting crops, use comfrey leaves, seaweed or aged manure. One practical example is filling a bucket halfway with chopped comfrey, adding water until it covers the leaves, stirring in a small amount of molasses and sealing it loosely to allow gases to escape. In 2 weeks, the liquid becomes dark, sharp-smelling and potent. Another example from old rural homesteads involves fermenting rabbit or goat manure. When soaked in water with a sugar source, the microbes convert raw nutrients into plant-available forms far faster than in a traditional manure pile. The fermentation process is simple, but the details matter when you want maximum potency. The key to a strong ferment is maintaining a low-oxygen, slightly acidic environment. Historically, people achieved this instinctively by filling clay jars or wooden barrels to the top and covering them with cloth or weighted lids. Today, a basic 5-gallon bucket works fine as long as it's not sealed airtight. Stirring once every few days keeps the microbes active and helps release trapped gases. A good rule of thumb is allowing 1 to 3 weeks for fermentation, depending on temperature. Warm climates speed everything up, which is why many tropical farmers relied so heavily on fermented liquids. They could make and apply them within days. A sign that your fertilizer is ready is when bubbles slow down and the smell shifts from sharp and raw to deep and tangy. Using fermented fertilizer correctly determines whether it becomes a miracle booster or, well, an overpowered mix. This fertilizer is extremely concentrated and applying it straight can damage roots. Dilution is the key, honestly. A practical starting point is mixing 1 part fermented fertilizer with 10 parts water for leafy greens and 1 to 20 for fruiting plants. A gardener working with tomatoes, for example, can apply the diluted liquid once every week during early growth, then reduce it while the plant sets fruit. Another scenario is using a lighter dilution on seedlings, giving them a gentle push without overwhelming their tender root systems. The best time to apply is early morning or late evening, when the soil is cool and microbes are most active. Different recipes offer different strengths, giving you a versatile toolkit depending on what your garden needs. A popular traditional method in coastal regions involved fermenting seaweed in rainwater with molasses. The resulting liquid provides trace minerals that inland soils often lack. Gardeners working with poor sandy soil can use this to restore micronutrient balance and increase moisture retention. Another recipe comes from mountain communities that relied heavily on green manures. They fermented stinging nettle, which delivers a powerful nitrogen punch. A gardener dealing with yellowing leaves or slow early growth can apply diluted nettle ferment twice a month for fast recovery. Wherever you live, fermented fertilizer adapts to the materials around you, just as it did for the people who developed these methods generations ago. Fermented fertilizer fits perfectly into a survivalist or self-reliance mindset because it transforms waste into power. During times of scarcity, every scrap of organic material mattered. Fermentation allowed families to turn kitchen waste, spoiled produce, and invasive weeds into something more valuable than the ingredients themselves. A modern gardener can do the same. Instead of throwing away carrot peels, cabbage cores, or wilted greens, place them in a bucket with water and molasses, let them ferment, and feed the liquid back to the soil. The cycle becomes closed, efficient, and resilient. Even small balcony gardeners can keep a small ferment bucket tucked in a corner, creating a completely self-sufficient nutrient loop. Fermented fertilizer earns its reputation because it delivers fast, visible, reliable results. It works because it taps into the same biological forces that shaped traditional agriculture long before synthetic fertilizers existed. The plants don't just grow faster, they grow stronger, supported by a living microbial network that improves soil structure over time. Many gardeners who adopt this method find they rely less on store-bought products and more on what their land provides, which is exactly how historical food systems thrived. If this deep dive into fermented fertilizer gave you something useful, make sure you subscribe to FarmLab and share this guide with others who love practical, time-tested growing knowledge. This is how we keep real skills alive.